to our podcast, KISS.
Keep it simple, sister.
All right, how are you doing, Diana?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
You're always fabulous. I love it.
Well, and if I'm not, when I say it, it makes you smile. If you say the word I'm fabulous, you have to smile and then you become fabulous.
Just light up people's day. There you go.
Fake it till you make it sometimes.
So, everybody, welcome to the podcast. In the KISS podcast, it's all about feeling great by feeling better. And what we're doing is we're sharing the tips, tricks, techniques, and products that Diana and I use. And it we integrate these things into our lives. We've been doing it for many, many years, some newer than others, and we just keep refining that which works best for us. And our, I guess, our true north is happiness, living our life in a space of feeling joy, abundance, and being in that brighter space that then when, the sludge of life comes along, it's not that we don't feel it. We feel it, we own it, we dive down and engulf ourselves in it, but then we're able to, like phoenix from ash, like we're able to rise out of it and get back into that happy, fun place. We're not victimized by it. We're not stuck in it. We're not mired. We're really able to just go and embrace the rest of our lives. And so that's what this is
Right.
all about, us sharing all of this with you. And you'll notice that we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We'll go into, Diana will introduce the flip side. Then we get on to the positive path, which is the main topic. And then we will have our weekly Wanderlust, which is the integration part, where we give you something that you can use to integrate all of this into your day-to-day life. All right.
Okay. So,
Just a little bit.
what I thought about when you were doing that was a really good description of everything of everything. And sometimes it's a little bit, it takes a little more time to phoenix from the ashes. And excuse
Like
me.
that phoenix from the ash.
Yeah. And you have to allow yourself that time.
That's
That's
called
what
grace,
I thought
right?
of when you said that. Yeah, grace, exactly. Okay, so the positive, no, what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing the flip side.
Pick one, anyone.
Okay. So the flip side is where we try and find something in our lives that was a little challenging, a little bit contrasty, might have made us feel like, oh my gosh. And then how we try and find something positive that came out of that.
Mhm.
Either it was a learning experience or you met somebody or like there's all kinds of, different things, but you have to tune into it. So just like you said, you don't stay in that victim space. You don't allow yourself to kind of hang out where you're not feeling good
Yeah.
because it's a waste of energy.
Hmm.
And it's not a good way to use your energy. And it affects everyone around you. So that's where the whole fabulous thing comes in for me. Like whenever, I started it a long time. I don't even know why I started it, but everybody comes up to, hey, how you doing? All right. Okay. How's your day? All right.
And then you're like, oh my God, what's wrong?
What's happening? And I always answer fabulous. And people who know me know that that's what's going to come out of my mouth because that naturally that's what I say. That's what I always do. And instead of it going to, well, what's wrong with you today, honey? Um, they're shocked and they're like, well, why are you so fabulous? What's
Well,
going on with you?
you're giving them the opportunity to now jump up to,
Level up.
jump up, yeah, to the vibration of fabulous instead of, "Eh."
Yeah. Well, like even when you're going through a like a checkout line or something like that, I go into the post office. Hey, how are you doing or whatever. When you say that to strangers, they're like, "What?" And they smile because they're like, Who are you? What?" And then I'll always explain it to them. I'm like, try it. Try say fabulous because people get shocked and then they laugh and they smile and you have a better conversation, you have a better interaction.
Exactly. I love that.
Okay. So that's one of my main things. Um And for my flip side, I always, and it's become a habit for me now, I always think everything is always working out for me.
Mhm.
Because for a minute, I'll be like, oh, God, why is this happening to me? And then I remind myself, everything's always working out for me. Let's see how this goes. Let's figure this out. So this is my flip side. And
Okay.
I'm going to try and be brief because brevity is not my friend usually.
And that's
So
why we
I
break these up into chapters so that if anyone wants to just jump to the positive path, they can just go right over all of this stuff we share, but we're sharing it for a purpose. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what happened to me the other day had to do with the airport, and I made a big mistake. I accidentally, instead of doing a round trip ticket, I did two one ways, and it had to do with I had flight credit and I had points, and I was trying not to bring out my credit card. That's what was happening. And
Mhm.
so I booked two one-way flights. And what I ended up doing was, and it's a long drawn out process and story to where I got this and how we figured this out. But I ended up going from Baltimore to Myrtle Beach and then thought I was booking a one way from Myrtle Beach to Baltimore, but I accidentally did Baltimore to Myrtle Beach again. So when I went to go get through TSA, they're like, "Yeah, no, you're not coming through here. You're not on a flight." And so I had to go back to Southwest and talk to the lady, and her name was Evelyn, and she was very nice.
Okay.
Um,
Oh my god.
and it really was kind of a mystery that we both kind of worked through to figure out. But what could have happened is that, and what I was afraid of was that there wasn't room on the flight because it was the last flight out of the day, and that it was going to cost me more because I had made this mistake. So by the time we figured it out, and she's like, "You might have to pay more." And I was like, "Whatever, I just need to get home. I don't want to stay here another night." And so she's like, "Well, let me just put it in the system and see what happens." And so she put it in the system. She's like, "You bought this part with points, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, it's coming up 0 points. You're good. And there's room on the flight." And I was like, "That is the best news ever. Thank you so much." So the upshot is I could have really let myself go into a tailspin over it. And I did a little bit. I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh God, I got to go back and find a hotel and I'm gonna have to stay overnight. It's gonna cost me more money. And what if and she can get me on the flight? It's gonna cost me more money and all of that." But none of that came to pass because I expected it not to. And I was like, well, everything's always working out for me. So something's gonna work here. And even if all that stuff happens, it's happening for a reason. So there's something positive that's gonna happen, and it's self-talk. It's you kind of think to yourself, talk yourself out of the tailspin,
Yeah.
and just get it to neutral to where like, okay, let's see what happens, and then everything always works out. And hindsight's 2020. So even at the time, you might not think it's working out, but looking back, you're like, that's why that happened, and that was a positive thing for me eventually.
Yeah, and, what I was thinking is, as you're saying that, I love that you use neutral, go to neutral,
Uh-huh.
is that, next level is for us to not do the tailspin. Next level, I
Right.
mean, that's what it could because we always turn around and look at it and go, "Oh, I see the benefits of this." But it's like, if we could just be in that trusting moment and not, "Oh my god," like, when you think of all the energy, how your body gets tightened up, all the energy you waste on it, and that is part of the human experience. That's part of the problem solver. Like, we as women, I wonder, and even at men who tend to be more problem oriented, like, but I wonder if it's because we're such attuned problem solvers that
Yeah.
we jump into that. Whereas if we could just release to the moment and trust, have faith,
Yeah.
oh my God, so that's our next level jump, I think.
Right. And something that I learned along the way is that faith and fear cannot coexist.
Mhm.
Faith and write it
True that.
down, put it on the wall, put it wherever. If you truly believe that, faith and
Yep.
fear cannot exist in the same space. So you got to choose one. And if you choose fear, then you're going to have physical symptoms, you're going to have mental symptoms. It really is going to drain the energy out of you.
Boy, yeah.
and just remind yourself, I'm just going to have faith that this is going to work out. That's where everything's always working out for me. That's my faith statement.
Mhm.
That's what I say to myself.
Yep. I love
So
that.
thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh my god, I love okay.
Oh, and if you don't follow me on Facebook, everyone, I do TED Talks frequently and public service announcements on reels and stories and stuff. And usually they're funny. So if you just need a little, and I probably should go on the road and make money out of my comedy, but I think I'm funnier than other people do sometimes. But anyway, if you don't follow me, and it's under Diana Gunto Sullivan, and it's like gun and a tow truck. Diana Gunto Sullivan. So go follow me because I'm fun. That's quite
Oh
my
my
story.
god. I don't even know how to follow that. Okay.
Okay, we need to get to
My flip side, so much simpler. Um, all the drama. My daughter, um, was going on a cruise. She had planned it for a year, and, so her and her boyfriend were going on an EDM cruise. They haven't been on electric,
I was
digital,
gonna say, what is EDM? Is
electronic,
it music?
yeah, electronic,
Like
digital
a type
music,
of a
whatever.
genre of music, right?
Yeah, like bass nectar and stuff like that.
I
So
don't know Beast Nectar, but go ahead.
it's good. It's like when when people talk about dropping the bass, and it's that
Oh, okay, okay.
the anyway.
Okay.
Um, so she's all
Thanks
excited.
for that demo.
You're welcome. Um, so then she is a bunch of other stuff's coming into my mind, and I'm having to go stick with the story, Sam.
Focus, focus.
Yeah, so she's been planning this for a year. They haven't her and her boyfriend have not been on one of these cruises and I don't know, years upon years. So they're all excited, but also at her work, her employer, she shuts down the restaurant for a week and takes the staff somewhere on like I think they
Nice.
went to Costa Rica at one point.
Oh
Like
my gosh.
people have to get to a certain point and then she provides the rest. So
Yeah.
this year it was a cruise. No, 2 days after my daughter gets back from her other cruise.
Oh my God, Cruiserama.
Yeah, so she's like basically a week and a half of cruises or more. So anyway, and my son, because he works there also, he's going on the cruise. So they're going cruising. But anyway,
Fun.
now the point of this is, um, who's going to watch after her animals? Now she knows I'm not watching after the dog. That the dog's old. She refers to the dog Layla as Doge. The Doge is very sweet but old, and my cats would freak out, and I just
Yeah.
don't need any of
Not
that.
a good combo. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm pretty certain she's not ever going to have kids, and so I've accepted and embraced that her bunnies are my grand bunnies.
Okay.
So people may have seen me posting that my grand bunny was coming to visit. So she just has one bunny right now.
And if you don't follow Samantha Love Kaufman, you should do that too, because her stories are funny also. Go ahead.
Poignant and sweet
Yes. Yes.
and very animal oriented. Um,
Uh-huh.
but anyway, so she'd had these bunnies before that were like we could give a flying flip about you, and they weren't much fun to watch after. They just kind of it's like watching after somebody's guinea pig or hamster or whatever.
Right.
But I was resisting, but I was like, nope, this will be fun. I've got my grand bunny coming, and I'm like, so you don't need it just for a week. You need it for longer. And she's like, yeah. And I'm kind of going,
Oh,
and she's like, "Mom, it's okay. This bunny is so sweet, and it will just hippity hoppity around. You don't need to confine it. It doesn't chew cords." Like she's just like, "Leave the gate open. Let the bunny have the whole space of the room." And I'm kind of going because we usually set it up in a closet area, and I'm kind of
uh-huh.
going, "I don't know about this." Anyway, I was like, I'm gonna trust her because she's not gonna let her own house get messed up and stuff. And so there's a point at which I release to the experience. This is what it's going to be. It's not going to be in a cage. It's not going to be I mean, I confine it at night to give the bunny boundaries. Name is Jarvis. To give Jarvis boundaries like safe space. Here you go. But during
Uh-huh.
the day, I open up the gate and I open up the door so the gate, he, it can, the bunny could, the bunny can look out into the loft area where my son is. And my son loves it because he goes by and he goes, "Hey, Jarby," and Jarvis is just, um, but literally, like this whole experience has been amazing. I'm so glad I released to it. I'm so glad I gave into it because this bunny is everything like what you hear these house bunnies are like. I
So
will,
you were dreading it. That
yes,
that's where the contrast and the all of that is.
yeah,
You were like, "Oh,
yeah.
this is gonna be a pain and a pain for a long time."
Uh-huh, and I'm gonna have to pick up that there's gonna be little bunny poops all over the place. They're dry, they're not that bad, but there's gonna be
Yeah,
little poops all over the place, and it's gonna get into all my stuff.
yeah.
And it turns out, like, I will go upstairs, and the bunny will be on the bed, just like a cat would, just like a dog would, and the bunny's just sitting there chilling, looking at me. I'm like, "Okay." And I'll go up and read a book, and the bunny will bounce around, and it'll jump up on the bed, and it'll come over to me, and it just, nudges me, and it's like, "Give me attention. Hold."
I've never heard of a bunny being kept like that. That's so cool.
It is so trippy. The bunny does not poop outside of the closet area, and generally it only poop like because these are that's a whole other topic about their poops. Um, but generally in the litter box, it only pees in the litter box. Like
Nice.
doesn't smell. My daughter puts like a quarter cup of
Baking
apple
soda?
cider vinegar in the water, and it makes it where that doesn't stink. The urine doesn't stink.
Interesting.
And it works so well. But anyway, so this has actually been like it's been so much fun that I started doing what I do with the cats. I hide treats around the house for the cats just to give them, like an instinct to come find.
Stimulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so with the bunny, like she's got these graduated cups, that like little kids would play with and stuff. And I'll put treats in them and I put them around the room for the bunny to go hunt and find them. And now the bunny knows what I'm doing. So it follows me around. So I have to be really clever and not set something down and then quickly set something. So yeah, it's turned into a whole real fun
Fun.
experience. So anyone that wants a bunny as a pet and they want it to be one that can bounce around the house and behaves itself, you want a lop ear bunny,
Okay.
that's been handled since the day it was born. And you've got to like, they need the reassurance. You got to handle them. Otherwise, they do get kind of wild and scared and stuff. So you constantly have to work with them. But
Uh-huh.
they are so loving.
That's cool. I've never heard of that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's
I
a
love
cool
it.
flip side.
Oh, yeah, and as I see her posts, because we're friends, um, it gives me a whole new respect and understanding. Because I was like, "What do you mean she's all over this bunny? Don't they just put them in a cage and have a little water and whatever?" So that's cool.
Yeah, and it's neat. We met, okay, so she did, it was not easy at all for her, but she did, I'm trying to there's a term, not release, but she gave up her bunnies, the two that were lion manes that
Rehomed.
rehomed. Yes, thank you. Um, she found a rescuer up in Colombia who will take bunnies on and rehome them for people, but she's so specific. This woman is like, you can only rehome if the bunny, like the qualifications are that the bunny the cage cannot be outside, cannot be in another room. It has to be in the main family room.
Uh-huh.
And like, so there's like a couple of qualifications that people have to agree to. Now, whether they stay with that or not, I don't know.
Right,
Um,
right.
but it gave her at least a little bit better feeling, but what she needed, her boyfriend's allergic to cats, and so she
Uh-huh.
needed a pet, something that would interact with her, and her 2 lion manes, they were not gonna do it. But
Right.
this one, oh my god, like, it's just totally blown my mind. It's so cute. And then it
Well,
just
I
eventually.
forgot that her boyfriend was allergic to cats because I was like, "Why how did she come to this? How did she even know that this was a thing?" So that's
Yeah.
cool. I'm allergic to cats too. So if ever I get too lonely, we have a dog and I love my little doggy. But I don't get cats. I don't get the fascination with cats. I don't understand cat just because I've never been able to be around them because I'm allergic. And I had a traumatic experience as a child. My best friend had Siamese cats And
Ooh,
I was probably,
they're
I
the
don't know,
weirdest.
I was maybe like 11 or 12. And I spent the night at her house and I slept on the floor.
Mhm.
And one of the Siamese cats came over and bit me right here and would not let go. And she thought it was the funniest thing ever. And she just was laughing hysterically. And I was like, get it off, get it off, get it off. And Siamese, I don't know if you're allergic to cats, if Siamese don't work, like, but they're not furry,
Yeah.
really. So I don't know if they don't have the dander or whatever.
Oh,
So
no,
it
they
didn't
do.
affect
It's a
me.
different thing. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it didn't affect me when I was at her house. So I could go to her house and
ow.
spend the night. But once the thing got me in the eye, that was it. Mm-mm.
It was doing
Nope,
a
no cats.
it was doing, a love nip where they just kinda hold on, and then they go into this, like, state where they're just kinda like
Okay, well, that's good information because I thought he just didn't like me. And
yeah.
I was like, why is this cat biting my eye?
No, if it
Okay,
didn't
anyway, we've
yeah,
got
if it
to
didn't
move on
like
to
you,
the
it'd go
positive.
and it would go away because it wouldn't wanna be near
No,
you.
it was like,
But when it holds on and just sits there, that's a love nip.
that's interesting, and maybe that's why she was laughing because, like, I never got why she was laughing. I thought she was just a very insensitive person. I
Yeah, no, we're
was
shifting
like,
this whole
"Get
experience
the
for you.
cat off of me, please."
No, because yeah, they seriously, that's their thing. They just
Okay, that's interesting to know. I'm so glad I told that story because it has given me post-traumatic stress disorder for my entire life. Like, whenever I see Siamese cats, I'm like, "It's gonna jump and bite me in the eye. No, no, no."
well, they are the weirdest of the lot.
Odd.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because 'cause I've had Siamese my whole life. And
Okay.
yeah, even if you get a partial Siamese, still weird.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah.
I'm not getting a Siamese, just so you know.
My god.
Ever.
Okay, so we're gonna jump into the positive path.
Okay, good.
We had a good time with all of this. I enjoyed it. Did
I
you?
did too. I hope everyone else did.
Yeah. Sometimes you just
And
need to listen and laugh along with us, just go with the flow.
well,
Okay,
and my face is hurting because I'm like smiling and laughing so much today. So that's a good thing because it didn't start out like that. So that's great.
interesting.
That's another flip side for another day.
Well, and here's the thing. So, on the positive path today, we're talking about like emotional release concepts.
Uh-huh.
So, these a couple of these Diana probably should have been employing
Yeah.
this morning, I'm thinking. So what we're gonna do is talk about the importance of emotional release, kind of like what e- everything that we talk about from the moment we start this, it all blends together. Like it blows my mind how it's this thing where no
It's like
matter
a web. It's like a spider web
yes,
that is all interconnected. That's
yes.
the way I think about it.
Any topic we talk about, it all kind of comes back to the same thing about your feeling, your state of being, what your vibrational preference is, that sort of a thing. So emotional, like what we're talking about with the flip side, it's what did we do to flip it? What did we do to get into that better space?
Yeah.
And um, some of these things that we're going to talk about are more mellow, and others are when you're diving deep into it and you can't release from it, you can employ some of these greater techniques. Okay.
Yeah.
So the importance of emotional release is let's start off with emotions.
Okay.
Emotions are simply a frequency, a state of being, which is a frequency.
Which is so interesting because I was thinking to myself, it just came to me that I never tuned into energy. I knew I was high energy because sometimes I'll say to people, I'm a little bit much. So, if you if it's too much for you, it won't insult me if you have to go somewhere or whatever. I met someone new and she's like, "Oh no, I love people that are a little bit much." But anyway, so I've always been kind of high energy like that,
Mhm.
but I'm tuning into other people's states of energy. And a lot of times I bring up the energy in the room just because of mine.
Mhm.
And when people are around me that bring my energy down, I like to avoid that. Or that's where the comedy comes in. You like, I want to get them laughing or having a good time or whatever, because I don't want to be around that
That
low
makes
level
sense.
negative energy. I just don't.
Well, it's, when we talk about these things, we resonate with our higher self, like our connection. We know that we feel in the flow. It's not that you're ecstatic or, laughing or whatever. It's just that when you are connected, when you are in the flow, there's a state of being that's just grace is a good way to describe it.
Uh-huh.
You feel good. It's not that you feel ecstatic. It's not that you
And
feel,
comfortable. That's the way I think about it.
Mhm.
I just feel comfortable.
Yeah,
And then
everything's
when these other things I get uncomfortable and I want to get to that comfortable state. And
exact.
sometimes it's really high and really, I'm having a great time, but sometimes I'm just having a this is good. I'm
Uh-huh.
okay with this. This is good.
And that is our connection to our higher self. We're resonating, we're in that frequency of that. So when we shift our frequency into being sad or into being, happier, that's when um that's when we might need some things to regulate a little bit. Like people who, when I say regulate, like think of people who suddenly go happy and then they drop, they crash,
Yeah.
like, you might want to regulate that a little bit because the highs and lows, all of that, all of what emotion does to you, it is your body interpreting the frequency, and then it's creating a chemical reaction due to that.
Right.
So if you go into that state of like frantic happiness, like you and I go there a lot. Like we'll just be into this. Oh, frantic happiness. I love that. Frenetic happiness. I don't know. We're just busting up laughing, but
Yeah.
it's using, you're producing, what is it? The serotonin level.
Serotonin and dopamine, or is it
Yeah. And so you're just
I
like
don't know, all those good
good feeling chemicals.
hormones. Yeah.
And so you end up burning through them at some point, and that's when you start like the laughing slows down, you're exhausted, your body's just like, "Oh my god." And so that's okay, and it's good, and sometimes it releases
You
in
just can't sustain it is what you're saying, for a long period of time.
however, if you're in those lower frequencies, that tends to be y- it's weird because, and I would love to see, like, I think there's a whole area of study here, and maybe it exists, I don't know. But studying the frequency of those lower states, the chemicals that are released, and there's a comfort level people feel with it. And so they will actually produce those chemicals in their body and choose to stay in this lower frequency state because
It's
for,
what they're used to.
yeah, it's a really kind of like, it's just like how we're used to feeling good. They're used to feeling negative, or not. I hate using that word contrast, they're not feeling as good, but it's also creating these things in your body that start to dysregulate
Yeah.
because you're in this, space. And I know people know that laughter creates a more positive vibe, a more
They
positive
always
state of
say
being.
laughter is the
Feels.
best medicine.
Yes.
And that's what's happening. It's changing your chemical makeup like medicine does
Yep.
and in a natural way.
Yeah, exactly. And so if
And I
you're
like the
doing,
way that I'm just going to interject something here. I like the
sure.
way that you were talking about dysregulation because I always go to the kids stuff because I was a teacher.
Mhm.
If you think about a toddler, right, having a like a temper tantrum,
Yeah.
that's dysregulation. And that temper tantrum is how they're acting out the feelings in their body, mainly because they can't communicate the way they want to. They can't get their message across or their needs or whatever.
Mhm.
But a lot of kids that are on the spectrum or neurodivergent is the new word that they talk about. They just, their brain waves don't work the same as many people's do, have that dysregulation. And so all of these strategies that you're going to talk about and we're going to talk about can be used to help kids. So, or your spouse or
Mhm.
whoever you're coming in contact with, if you see they're in this dysregulated state, if you can give them these strategies or make a suggestion about something or tell a joke or whatever,
Mhm.
or distract. Sometimes that's a big one too. They're able to kind of calm that stuff down. And so many of us, either with our own children or our spouses or our grandchildren, or, just people that we know in general, can help others with these strategies that help that dysregulation. And I
Mhm.
think you see it more often than you think. Like when you start tuning into it, you're like,
Mhm.
they could do this and then they would feel a little bit better. That poor little baby that's flinging himself all over the floor, if you pick him up and take him outside and stand him in the grass for a little bit, take his shoes off if you have to,
Yeah.
that's going to calm that dysregulation down.
Exactly. Well, and I was just thinking, the big thing right now is gentle parenting, where you're speaking like a second or first grade teacher, and this very calm. And the thing is, when someone is in that state of being, the energy is flying through their body.
Right.
They got to get it out, and um, it's already gone too far. Like, had you started off doing the gentle parenting,
Well,
had
and
you
that's
started
why
off
timeout works. That's why timeout works.
but you
If they go,
still have yeah, but you've already like, a lot of kids that get sent in timeout, yes, it does work, but they still have that they're going into timeout with that energy in their body.
right, but it allows it to calm down for
Mhm.
you to even be able to have the conversation and or whatever. That just came to me. That
Yeah,
like why do we do timeout? We do timeout as a punishment because it's uncomfortable. They don't want to do it or whatever. But really, more importantly, it allows that energy level to just
subside.
kind of yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
This is not what I thought we were going to talk about, but it really is important, I think, and it helps so many people.
It does.
Usually, sometimes we think we're going to talk about one thing and we go to totally something different.
Well,
So I like,
we're gonna get to that
yes, yes,
stuff,
yes.
but, so, and I guess with the point that I guess the point that I was addressing, I love how you brought that in, is that the the gentle parenting or what it all amounts to is that we need to learn to identify our feelings. We also need to be listened to.
Right.
We need to be heard and validated. Even little kids need to be heard. Like sometimes you got to grab them real quick because there's danger. But
Right.
then they need to understand, well, what was this thing with the danger? Like you have to get them like because now you've spiked they're just going, "Oh my God." And you have to
Adrenaline,
help
yeah.
them to regulate that spike of adrenaline and then calmly explain to them because if you don't, they don't understand. They know it was danger, but they know they did wrong. They don't understand what
Well,
the
and they
consequence.
internalize that feeling of I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. No, you're not. You
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yep.
And now you do. But so many the one of the reasons I mean, I'm not all about gentle parenting. I'm all about yelling at somebody sometimes. And
We're
if
80s
they're
kids.
little, swatting them on the behind or whatever, because I need them to stop so that I can have that teachable moment, so that I can explain
Yeah.
why or get them to explain why, what was going on here that is unacceptable or dangerous. And I think the dangerous is the most important part.
Yeah. I mean, there's space for timeouts, nose in the corner, time in your room,
Yeah.
restrictions, grounding, whatever.
Yeah.
Grounding in the terms of go to your room, no TV.
Not go to the grass
Yeah, yeah, which that would probably be more,
or your hands under the water.
yeah. So what Diana and I are gonna share with y'all are different techniques that you can use in order to get that dysregulation regulated, which so look at it that you are on a frequency of discomfort of some sort.
Yeah.
And so now you have ramped up the energy. Everything is energy. Our body is energy. Now you've ramped up this energy in your body. You've got these chemical processes going and you just need it to stop. Like you've got to honor that it's happening. And there's several steps you can go through to go, okay, where am I feeling this? Isn't this interesting? I'm feeling we've shared this before about how you can move into a regulated state by becoming aware of what's going on with your body. But these are some other techniques for like a prolonged experience kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
or maintenance.
Well, and I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to not today, but intermittently revisit that. Where are you feeling this in your body? Because that's not a natural thing to tune into. At least it wasn't for me,
Mhm.
but it's becoming more natural. So
Yeah.
you've brought my attention to it. So I'm tuning into it.
Yeah, and I'm just super aware of it because I can feel the toxicity of the chemicals that are not preferred in my body. And it
Yeah.
literally feels like it's burning in my veins. Like it is the most
Oh,
uncomfortable. Like
right.
I get sick, physically sick from it. I just, so it's an interesting, you get to the point where you're that aware and you're that dissociated from having those negative feelings. So when I get angry, it's just not good feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Good for me to jump into these?
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
So,
Ready, set, go.
go. So the more milder ones that we've talked about before are grounding.
Uh-huh.
So when we talk about our ground is grounding. Um, so there's several ways that Diana and I can't speak. Diana and I like to ground.
Well, and
What's
I learned most of this from you, the things that I'm doing now. So, I didn't have the association of how important nature and natural things are to help ground you.
we're so
I
pulled away
always
from nature now, you know?
exactly. Well, and I always my whole life I've been barefoot everywhere. Um, in the house, like sometimes I'll put socks on, but mostly I like to walk around barefoot and I like to go out in the yard barefoot. I like to, I've been a barefoot person. And then my husband will be like, put your shoes on. I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I didn't realize what was happening as I was walking with my skin to the ground. The other thing that I learned about was water and how important water is for grounding you. And I just naturally did it, but didn't know why until you explained that to me. When so many people take a bath
Mhm.
and that just calms them down.
Yep.
For me, as a small child, and this is probably too much information, I used to get UTIs, urinary tract infections, from bathing in Mr. Bubble. So I never, it's like all of this goes back to my childhood. So baths have never been a big thing for me because it was painful and it was PTSD, I think. But just standing in the shower and letting the water run over me has always been a calming kind of
Mhm.
help me feel better sort of thing.
Yep.
So those are the two things that I go to. And because I taught little people for all my life, I washed my hands like a crazy fiend woman because, I just didn't want the germs. And it's just gross. Kids are gross. Like they're just gross. They don't even know that they're gross, but they're gross. They pick their nose. It's just gross. So I would be, washing my hand even before all the C word thing went down where you needed the antibacterial this and that and whatever. So I think that I naturally was grounding myself with washing my hands so much
Mhm.
too. I just didn't know that it was happening.
Yeah, and you especially need it in that environment because
Yeah.
you're reading you're as a teacher, if you're good at it, like if you know you're good, like you seem to always have that thing the kid needs, you're on top of it, you feel in the flow with the kids. It's because you're constantly reading and assessing their needs. So you're picking up on this stuff, which means you're picking up on their energy and you need to release that. And so
Well,
you're
and so many times a hand on a shoulder
Mhm.
or even, a hand on just proximity, being right near them helps them with the dysregulation.
Mhm.
So, and because I was an elementary school teacher, I think we do that more than teachers of middle school and high school or whatever. I was in their face in the petri dish, if that makes sense. Like the petri dish of germs in
Mhm.
the room, the closer you are to it, the more you're going to pick it up or whatever. So I didn't get sick because I got sick so many times early on in my career.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's one of the release kind of things that like the physical touch kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um is something that helps kids dysregulate.
Oh,
Like,
I
"Oh,
would
here,
say
give
so.
me a hug, give me a whatever." But what that ends up doing is putting you closer to the energy, and I would take on the energy a little bit. And then when I would go wash my hands, I would be like, "Okay, well, now I'm back to neutral or my high vibe,"
Yeah.
or whatever it is that I would have going on usually.
Well, I think you're doing a pattern interrupt.
Okay,
They've
that
got
makes
that
sense.
going on, and here you come in with this understanding, calming vibe, kind of like with a horse. A horse is nervous. You come in with that calm, confident vibe, and you touch and or even get in the sphere of, and it's
Yeah,
a pattern interrupt. All of a sudden, they're going, "Oh, this feels better. I like what this is," and they're more aware of how they're feeling in their body and releasing
and
to that
lean
better.
into it a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. So, with grounding is good to use as a maintenance of these. I mean, you could hit the skids and just go, "Oh my God, I need to go stand in the grass." One of the things that my guides have given me is, and when I say that, it's not like they just speak and say, "Put your hands in dirt." It's when I'm
Uh-huh.
in a reading and information flows through of what they would suggest my clients to do. Um,
Uh-huh.
so just even having potting soil is very helpful because the energy of the earth. So if you have a big bag of potting soil and you
Uh-huh.
just put your hands in that, like think about anytime you've ever done that, how good it feels. It just
Right, and I
feels
was
good.
just thinking that, people who love to garden or, love
Mhm.
plants and all of that, that is their preferred area. People who swim, water is their preferred. You know what I mean? I never really kinda thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it really helps. So Um, I did find out because a client asked, well, because going down to the beach is really good, all the energy shift in that.
Uh-huh.
But so they said, well, can I just bring back a jar of sand and stick my hands in the sand?
It's not
And
the same energy.
yeah, no, it's not, because potting soil is alive with that vibration,
Okay.
whereas once you take the sand away from the beach, it doesn't hold the same charge, apparently.
Because it's the combination of the water and the sand probably that make that charge.
Yeah, yeah. It's and the
The
salt.
movement of the waves and all of that.
Yeah, so it's a bit more, but,
It's interesting.
so okay, so that's one concept. I don't wanna get too deep into all of these, and be
Okay.
mindful of our time.
Okay.
So,
And
that
we can go back and do another podcast specifically for ones that need a little more time too.
we
I
can
don't think
always
that
do
would be a
that.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So, that's grounding. Everyone knows about yoga or tai chi or, what's the
I've
other one?
heard of it, but I don't know how it works.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's yoga, tai chi, and, uh,
Meditation?
huh?
Transcendental meditation or
No, meditation's
not
different.
meditation?
I can't remember what the other, qigong, qigong,
Okay.
qigong,
Yeah.
sorry. Anyway,
Qigong.
all of those they're meditative, like you're saying. They're meditative movements that are meant for you to go within yourself and feel where the energy is blocked in your body, like where the tightness is, and to
Huh.
release. So you're moving in ways that help the energy flow, like release and move
I
through the body.
never knew that that's what the point of it was.
Yeah.
Never knew it. I just thought it was, like stretching and moving your body. I'm mind blown. Go ahead.
Well, it's always good to stretch and to do all of that. But when you combine with the way my sister describes it, and she's a yoga teacher, but she's gone further into the studies and stuff.
Huh?
She's like, you find that area of tightness within. You breathe into it and you just subtly like shift your body, move in such a way that you're just gently releasing. Like you might feel it in your shoulder. And these movements that they suggest within yoga or qigong or whatever, they're designed to move your body in ways that you don't normally move. So
Okay.
like most of us, we go and we grab something, but we don't like come out and stretch the arm out this way. And then, like, when you go across like that, you're feeling the pull all the way. Well, we just did that.
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of it is focusing on the resistance, the space around. But it's like if you could see your meridians, the pathways of your electrical pathways of your body, you could just draw not a human body, but the diagram of that, which looks like, layout of a stick figure, human body.
Uh-huh.
But you would see, how, okay, this movement does this and this movement, instead of, well, I'm stretching my muscle, I'm doing this, you would see how the energy gets bundled up and then it's drawn and manipulated and then released. And then,
Okay.
okay, I can breathe easier.
So interesting. I didn't know any of that.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
Well, and so then, when people talk about the exercise benefit of it, when you're being mindful and you're doing this stuff and you're focusing on your breathing, you're bringing in the oxygen into your muscles and your muscles are sustaining certain movements and stuff. And so that's where is it anaerobic or aerobic? That's where that exchange occurs that is beneficial to the muscle. That's
Got
where
it.
you get the muscle strengthening, the muscle stretching, all that kind of
Well,
stuff.
and in my mind, I thought it was just for flexibility, like to maintain flexibility. Because a lot of times, I mean, just you see it on TV or whatever, you see older people doing Tai Chi. And I was like, why? Okay, well, they're just trying to keep themselves flexible. But that makes so much more sense.
Exactly. So the thing is, you can do it for flexibility. You can
Uh-huh.
do it for
Well,
weight.
it helps in so many different ways, it sounds like.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
but the real deep line benefit is the guiding principle with all of it is the mindfulness and
Uh-huh.
feel into the spaces, the inner spaces within your body
Okay.
to release that energy to have like freedom of movement. It's kind of cool. Like I can
It's
talk, I
very
don't
cool.
do it. I should. I know
But I
how to do
know if
it.
I did.
And we're back. So we just had a little bit of a blip, and that's okay. Blips are good because it reminds us that we need to move into our sponsorship moment. So
Okay, good.
I just want to say this that we're going to do a part two, like Diana had suggested. Um, the techniques that we just taught you about grounding and yoga, and we mentioned briefly about meditation, that those things are more kind of the maintenance kind of uh, techniques, tools to use,
Uh-huh.
and we'll get into what our weekly wanderlust is going to be after a moment from our sponsors.
Here
Drum
here's
roll. Yeah, we don't know how we're doing this one yet, but
and now a message from our sponsors,
yes.
us.
So Diana and I had decided a while back, instead of bringing other sponsorships in, why not just sponsor ourselves? Because both of us, we love sharing again the products, the things that work for us. And so what I'm going to share with you this time during this sponsorship is Morvita. So Morvita is from Life Activated Brands. There is a link below. There's a link in our podcast blog. There's links all over the place. We post them all the time. Um, we are crazy about this stuff. I will tell you this. At the beginning of the podcast, I was starving. I had not eaten, and I was going into, where your stomach starts to growl and all that. And I was like, okay, I could go grab something to eat real quick. And instead, I decided, let me grab my moringa with collagen because I'm getting something nutritious in my body. And this collagen has made my eyebrows, like, yes, I do darken them a little bit, but the hairs have been filling back in along the sides, and my hair's starting to get thick again and curvy. And toenails and fingernails are growing like weeds.
Same.
Yes, I mean, good thing or a bad thing, who knows? But anyway,
Well, and we keep noticing when we see each other on Zoom, "Oh my god, your hair looks so much fuller. Oh my god."
what's
I mean, we're noticing it ourselves a little bit, but really you can see the difference now, not just feel it.
uh-huh. So this is the Morvita with collagen, and there's a link below if you want to get more information on it. And thank you so much for listening to this sponsorship moment.
So the weekly wanderlust is your homework assignment, should you choose to accept it. um, so usually at the end, or yes, at the end of any of our podcasts, we try and give you something practical that you can practice and try out. And then we love it if you comment in the Facebook group. If you're in the Facebook group, and if you're not, ask to join. We would love to have you.
No worries.
How these things are impacting your life a little bit. Some examples, some practical examples.
Exactly. So with this one, because we've been talking about um, emotional release, and we've been talking about kind of the more of the maintenance side of it, more of the things that you can do to keep yourself more regulated, or to deal with the sudden things that come up that throw you off, and kind of to get back into that more zen kind of feeling, even out. So we mentioned grounding, which is fabulous. We talked about yoga, movement therapy. So, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and we touched just briefly on meditation, which maybe at some point we need to go further into this. But with meditation, just know that it's the same thing. It's the mindfulness we're talking, but there's all kinds of different meditations. So we probably need to do a whole podcast. I'm so
Yeah, a whole podcast on that. And
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you're like me, but I was the person who every time I tried to meditate, my mind just went crazy and I could never get myself into what I thought of as a meditative state or
Mhm.
what it should be. So yeah, I do think we definitely need a podcast on that. And one of the things that got me to that point was Samantha did a guided meditation for me. And so I figured out what it's supposed to feel like, which I never knew before that.
Yeah, sometimes people say, "Oh, just do this," and you're like, "I don't understand."
I
Oh,
I
okay.
don't.
Which is why we do the integrations, these weekly
Right,
wanderlusts, so that you can actually experience something. So we're
right.
talking about the grounding.
Yes.
We'd like you to take one of the techniques that we brought up with just grounding. Okay, it's wintertime right now. A lot of people watching this, it's wintertime. So choose between, I mean, if you got a great day out there and you can kick off your shoes and walk in the grass, more power to you. It reaches a certain level of cold to me and I'm like done. Um,
Yeah.
but so try one of two things. This is really cool. Either running your hands underwater, okay? You could jump in the shower, but more just for the ease of doing it. Notice if you're starting to feel a little bit frustrated, a little bit, you just barked at someone, you're kind of, your
Yeah.
temperature's going up or whatever. Just go turn on the faucet. And I tend to find, depending on my mood, that I want the water to be a certain way. Sometimes I want it to be really
Warm or cold.
warm.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to feel a little bit of difference between, just a little bit between what my body temperature is like. It's the more mindful you become about it, like, the more aware you are, you'll know whether you want it colder or warmer. But
And try it. Try cold, see, and then think about, feel, see how you feel, and then try warm, and then try hot.
yep, it's all about the mindfulness. It's becoming aware of what your body is required in a given moment to soothe it, so that, you can then move into a more relaxed state of being. So either either go the water route, and or consider, it's going to sound crazy, getting a bag of very rich soil. I mean, just, it could be just a bag this big, or you can go all in. And yes, this is going to be potentially messy. You can pour some into a pot, or you can repot some of your plants in your house. Um, but just take note of what you feel like before you start messing with the
I
dirt.
am so excited about this idea because I have a money tree in my and I don't know how to, I can't show you guys, but I have a money tree in my office.
Uh-huh.
And it's growing like crazy, 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 which is so exciting. I don't know if it means anything, but for me, it means abundance. Let's go, let's go. But I'm gonna get in there and dig into my money tree dirt.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And here's, like, as I'm sensing this, okay, I'm feeling it out for you guys as I talk about this. Um, like I've got some orchids I need to repot. Well, it was 70 degrees here 2 days ago. It was amazing. And I had a bunch of oh, what do you call those? Like the Gerber daisies, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So they had kind of started descending into the pots. And so they needed to get repotted, which I would have waited till spring, but it was such a nice day. And
Uh-huh.
the feeling of being in the dirt as I was like transplanting them and stuff felt so good. But I also have this thing where I have these orchids where I need to transplant them. And what's super interesting is I started feeling into it because like the different things that y'all could use. And there's a point at which you put bark around it. The bark
Uh-huh.
doesn't do as much for me. Like I
That's
can
the dirt.
sense it going, that's not
So,
going to do as much. There's some moss. I don't feel it as much with that. There is some soil, and the soil I can feel a little bit more. But just know, like you'll understand if you pay attention what's really kind of doing it for you.
well, and the really interesting thing is, my husband is a gardener. He's a master gardener, and he loves to garden. And he always wants me to help him. I'm like, no, I don't want to get dirt under my fingernails. No, ew. And so I'll put on the gardening gloves and help him. But now that I know this, I'm
Yes.
going to wash my hands afterwards. I'm going to actually try it and see.
Hmm.
And I will definitely, I'm putting it on my calendar to report in on the Facebook group because I haven't been good about that yet. But dirt report is what I'm writing down.
Oh my gosh. I like that. Ah, okay. Fantastic. So you guys have your assignment. Um, and we were going to let's jump into the Sweary affirmation real quick and then
Yes,
we'll wrap it
definitely.
up. We haven't
Okay,
done
and as
this for a
she's
while.
getting that out, okay, my bag of little sweary affirmations. And before she grabs that out, I am turning back into the teacher and I say, it's your homework assignment. If you choose to, I'm going to boss you. Do this weekly wanderlust and get on the Facebook group and tell us what you found.
Yep. We
Please
want to know.
and thank you.
Yes. Okay. Ready?
I was Mrs. Sullivan there. Sorry. Do
You have to tell me when to stop
it. Okay, stop.
because I'll just keep doing it because okay. Ha. Diana's message. What are you waiting for? Get out there and fucking do it.
Are you kidding me?
That's why I have to
That's
have you say it
hilarious.
because it's your energy.
Right. And I didn't even need the card to tell you that, but yes, fucking do it.
Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do
Get
it.
over yourself. Stop just listening to us. Just fucking do it.
Try it and you'll like it.
Mhm.
I guarantee.
Yep. Yep. Or we
It's
wouldn't have
my
said it.
100% guarantee. You're going to like it if you try it.
Yep. So I want to remind all of you guys as we wrap this up that we have a podcast blog. The podcast blog has all of this information condensed in a more readable form. I did try to take the transcript of these podcasts, and with all the ums, and okays, it got really hard to read, and I couldn't edit them all out. And I thought, we need to have a blog, a separate blog that
I like that
distinctly
idea.
talks about the subject. Yes.
And we should
Um,
stop saying and but we can't. We're trying.
Yeah, yeah. Path of least resistance is just do the podcast and then
Yes.
give y'all a place. And some people just like to, you can read it a lot quicker than maybe listening to our whole thing, but it's
Right.
just on the positive path. So today it would just be about emotional release. So you can go over to it's kiss.afirewithin.me um, or the links below. Just go over there and you can read. It's going to match the blog post will match the same picture as the picture of our podcast. And in it, you will see written out the instructions for the integration for the weekly wanderlust. You'll also see any products or any products that we've mentioned. You'll see the affirmations that we brought up because I love doing that so that you like get inspired by some of those affirmations. Remember what they are. You can write them down.
Yeah.
And then if we can come across any videos that further enhance what we're talking about, we will also add the links to those there. So
And that's my job and I have not been doing it, so I will. Let me write that down too.
she's got a to-do list going. And then also remember, come over to, the other essential part of this is our KISS podcast group on Facebook. This is a place where you can listen to the integration, go over to the Facebook group, and then share what your experience was, because we want to know, we want to interact, we want to offer guidance, we want to know how it feels to you, and share in all of this. And if you're a member of the group, like right now, we're offering a free experience. I call them journey courses, workshops, whatever you want to call it. And this one is the positive energetic blueprint. And this is setting up for 2024, how you want to present yourself, who you want to become throughout this year. So we offer all kinds of value, bonuses, everything to help get you to that happy place.
Help us help you.
You.
Help us help you. Just fucking do it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Anything else beyond that?
I think that's it. All right, we will see you next time.
Bye.